Так вот же она, букашка, милые мои.
Oh, here it is, little bug. What'd you tell me, little blunt bug? I thought it's the F, but it's a bug. Bugaboo, bugaboo. Holy moly, where have I got to? Can't believe I flew this thing for so many years.
Ой, даже не верится, что летал вот на этой столько лет. Ёлки-палки.
Berlin, summer 1941. A big city with 4.5 million people. True Aryans, blonde furies. Berlin in the summer of 1941 was provocatively peaceful. English aircraft hadn't yet reached far from the shore, bombing western regions of Germany, the seaports. The capital of the Third Reich, headquarters of Hitler, who rules half of Europe. Here in the Wehrmacht, they remake the world map. Here Nazi generals and strategists decide which nations will live and which won't. Only the Germans have the right to develop and dominate. Brave German armies fight on two fronts, nowhere meeting any serious opposition. Berlin is gorged and confidently a calm city. Citizens don't expect danger from anywhere. German Inform Bureau reported that in the night of August 8th, few English planes reached Berlin and have thrown demolition bombs. Some buildings are damaged. There are victims among the citizens. German night destroyers and bombers crashed 6 planes of the enemy. Reuters reported in London. They proclaimed that no English planes were attacking Berlin.
My dear Heinrich, we live in the cellars, bombs explode, and many factories are destroyed. We are so exhausted that only bombs wake us up. Yesterday, from 12:30 p.m. to 1:30 a.m., aviators had their time. We don't know which. It was too bad. I'm scared of the night. We went to the bomb shelter with Brunhild. There they told us that there were English aviators, relatives of Willy Furstenberg, you know him, worked at Ordnance Factory. There is no more factory. Willy's relatives died in ruins. It's impossible to live here, near those factories. We are like in hell here. What will happen with us? Yours, Louisa.
British correspondent from the Evening Standard informs that, according to the correspondents in Berlin, frequent air alerts begin to nerve the citizens. They ask, which bombers are they? Does it mean the new stage of the war? Bombers fly so high that sound rangers hardly find them. There is full silence during the attacks. German flak cannons don't shoot. That irritates people more. All shapes well for the German army. The Third Reich widens to the east and west. Deutschland über alles. Prussian military machine will grind everyone. Minister of the Empire, Goebbels, states that no stone in Berlin will shake of explosion. The German army takes more and more of the Soviet territory. At the beginning of August, fascists were near Kiev. There are stubborn battles near Leningrad. Smolensk had fallen. Tallinn is blocked from land. For German planes, it's only 450 kilometers on the strait to Moscow. And for ours, it's more than 1,000 kilometers to Berlin.
Everyone in Moscow, each street, each house prepares for air and chemical defense. Here is one of the houses. Housemaids organized groups of self-defense. They show examples of discipline and method. On each staircase stand barrels with water and boxes with sand. Garrets are free from garbage and covered with sand. It was necessary to fight with firebombs. "24-hour citizens pull a duty in house." Also near the bomb shelter entrance.
On the night of the 21st of July, German aviators made their first massive attack on Moscow.
I remember that one petrol depot burned wildly. Black smoke rambled through Moscow. Firemen worked the hardest. Looks like firemen were prepared the best. Arrived in a moment, doused. In the first days, people saw that it's quite a dangerous thing. Germans came fly unpunished. It was such a strange pulsing sound. And we knew that they'd throw incendiary shells. It looks like silver cylinder, dural with green vein. Weighed about 1 kilo. It broke the roof and threw like Bengal light. Very hot, dangerous. We, boys, came from sideways, where vein was, took it, and put into sand. Sparkled. I burned hands, face. Each one had such captors. I had 27, if I remember. Someone had 47. And we made boast of who doused the most. It was dangerous. Flak cannons aimed the planes, shells exploded, and splinters splattered. You could catch one of those homemade. It's wrongful.
Граждане, воздушная тревога. Граждане, воздушная тревога.
You see, we can talk calmly now, but then there was no such fear, you know? I helped in hospital, so imagine to throw a bowl of bowels into the hole with bleach. You pull full bowl and throw them into a hole. And what you can do.
Bomb attacks of Moscow inspired the German command. The victory seemed to be close. Fascist pilots examined the capital of Russia from the cabins. Goering stated that there is no more Soviet aviation and there is no danger for Berlin. It's time to prepare for triumphant march into Moscow. Moscow declares martial law. Part of the works move to the east. Others work only for the army. 2,000 schoolboys replaced workers who went up on the line. Ration cards are starting to be used in Moscow and Leningrad. Divisions of citizens in arms are forming. The metro is turned into a bomb shelter. State Committee of Defense is formed, with Stalin as chairman. Military experts from Russia and Great Britain believe that the opposition of the Russians will be broken. Sorge reports that in the middle of August, the Japanese will begin war without any notifications. And in that depressing situation, a new idea, mad idea, was born.
In the first days of August, we have been put aside from flights. Usually we have 2 to 3 flights a day. On this plane, me and my crew, I was a common pilot, lieutenant. We fly to bomb tank columns, artillery, forces. Germans have already taken Lithuania, almost had Latvia, came to Daugavpils, and also they've got a half of Estonia. But Tallinn was still ours, and we have had our fleet. And we are told to wait. How could it be? It's a rush reason. Each have 30, 40 sorties. And we are being put off and told to have to rest. There was a camp fixed near the airdrome. We arrived there on bus. They showed us maps and we must study the region. Danzig, Stettin will be your landmarks. That was a difficult situation. Idea belongs to Nikolai Gerasimovich Kuznetsov. He was Minister of the Navy then, so he was. Then a set of crews is chosen from the 1st Mine and Torpedo Preobrazhensky Regiment that had moved to Island Isle on Airdrome Kogel. All other territories were occupied by Germans for 300 to 400 kilometers. We couldn't use our aerodromes. 4th of August, we moved to Island Isle and Sarama. The chief of all our aviation was E.N. Preobrazhensky. He was the group commander. Special group of Special Colonel Preobrazhensky, as it was pompously called. We had already realized what it was all about. Airdrome wasn't the best one. We tried to blank it off. We have been preparing the march route. Navigators have been. Rulers, scales, calculations, and we prepare, check the equipment. Everyone is busy, and our chief Baranov says, Pyatkov won't fly. Preobrazhensky asked why. Because he's got his oil cleaner full of metal chips. Engine can stop any time, in a minute or in 5, maybe in 1.5 hours. He might even reach the goal, but he can't fly for long. Then he turns to me, group commander, and says, hear that? War won't end tomorrow. You'll fight enough.
Saaremaa is an island in the Baltic Sea, 20 kilometers wide, 25 long, the westernmost point of Estonia. In 1941, people called it by its German name, Esel. From here to Tallinn, it's 30 kilometers, not more. It is the westernmost territory of the USSR without Germans. At the beginning of the war, there were 2 small airdromes with short takeoff strips, Kogel and Ast. On Kogel, here stayed the group of the 1st Mine and Torpedo Regiment of the Baltic Fleet in August 1941.
We were nervous before the first flight. The first is the first.
Они поспали.
They have slept, then lined up, told us the destination, and then the order.
Выстроили,
Aboard!
рассказали, куда летим, как. И была даже команда
And we went.
по самолетам. Разбежались и
We
пошли.
sat and began taxiing.
Сели и стали рулить. Один вырулил. Там на старте
One is ready.
стоит
A man who
тот, который
stands on
дает
start waves the
сигнал.
pennant. Fly!
Выстрел. Раз, флажком махнул, лети. Значит,
Pietkov
вот
was
там
there, gave the signals.
давал сигналы. Первый вылетает Преображенский Евгений
Preobrazhensky have flew the first. Semyon Fedorovich Cheveronkov had given him start.
А тут же рядом с ним лейтенант Петков.
Lieutenant Pietkov was near, not having much to do. You'll help here as a watch. I know a little bit about flying off and landing, so I've been always near start. The second was A.Y. Efremov. The third, M.N. Plotkin. The fourth, Greshiznikov. Then Fokin, A.I. Then Trekov, our brother, and so on. Pilots as I was. Not the best ones, but with some experience. 35 to 40 flights. On the 7th of August, 1941, in our IL-4, we headed for Berlin. We flew scooping above Baltica and moved upwards only near the German shore. Past Stegen. Moon has appeared. Vision became better. Awful time, summer, very hot, evaporations from the sea, and above the border between the sea and the land, there was always a thundercloud almost every night. It was very hard for those who have flew towards Berlin. Plane IL-4 have had some specific features. The main unpleasant feature was that it was hanging on the steering wheel. One couldn't lose the hold even for a second. Plane immediately moved upwards or lowered nose and moved downwards. It was very unstable lengthwise. You must always hold it in balance. That was exhausting for the crew. Maybe it was worse for old pilots than for younger ones. There were no autopilots, no warming. Oxygen mask filled with snots, that was the main feeling. In other aspects, everything is good. Breathe and rejoice, alive, and visibility is good. And think, I'll reach somehow. From the height of 6.5 kilometers, we could see the lights of highways, water glittering with moon glades. In 15 to 20 minutes, we saw the illuminated city. That was Berlin. We oriented by compass navigation, comparison of map and terrain. The main thing was to steer the course in flight mode. Radio navigation was possible only somewhere. We have had a radio compass that showed only the direction to a working radio station. You have to know frequency, call signs. Of course, navigators knew that, especially navigator of Regiment Petr Ilyich. He was always navigator of group. He was quite qualified in that. We were a bit confused that we were above the city and there is no firing. We have passed all city from north to south. Still no fire. We turned back. We have noticed all our objects, found them. 1 minute left to object. And I've said to Preobrazhensky, we have to begin now. Enough wandering. He replied, sure, we'll begin.
Конечно, надо начинать.
And in that moment, hundreds of projectors appeared in the sky. We got off. We gave an order to radio gunner that we are above Berlin. We fulfilled the mission, flew to base. We have had 100,000 pamphlets with us, and we have thrown all in our first flight. Volodya Krotenko and Ivan Rudakov have thrown 100,000 pamphlets, where there was truth about the war and message, you will lose. You see, we have aviation, strong and powerful, and it works now.
On the 7th of August, few planes bombed Berlin. Goebbels, hiding in the cellar, wrote as he used to. We destroyed 6 planes. Some citizens of Berlin were injured. What? Said the Englishman, waking up in the fog. It looks like none of our planes have been in Berlin yesterday. And if we hadn't been there, Germans hardly could destroy us. And suddenly the alert. Attention, Moscow is speaking. On the 7th, our detachment bombed Berlin, and all our machines came home. Goebbels was very puzzled. He was surprised. Where from I found 6 planes? So I'm in a mess again.
I was in army in August, in Permsky region, former Molotovsky. There were quarters called Bershet. And there, in 30 Reserve Artillery Regiment, political instructor gathered us for political information and said joyfully and vigorous, ours have bombed Berlin. Enthusiasm was indescribable. We were so full of joy, as if we have marched on Berlin streets, and felt as German army has only few days left. Few weeks at last, and everything will be all right. On aerodrome near Shugayev, attendees were in place organized for rest. In aviation, we call it square. We sat in that square. Here there was radio speaker, and then we have heard that our pilots, Baltic pilots, have struck the lyre of the enemy, Berlin. And we all shouted, hooray! Jumped up and told our instructors, let us go now.
Тогда мы все закричали «Ура!», запрыгали, и обратились к
We have grabbed the God's beard. We have flew. They replied, time will come. Don't hurry.
Не Бога за бороду взяли, все летаем, как это здорово. Вот те говорят, придет время, не торопитесь.
We waited. There was some communication support, only by Morse code. And then a telephone rang, and someone reported to General, Comrade General, such and such arrived, ready to fire. That 5 planes bombed Berlin and landed normally. I commanded. General haven't an eye for light guns, and I commanded to light that one, switch off that one. Good that such pilot was on start. That first night we flew wonderful. Nobody died. Someone had holes in planes. Frags have hit some machines. Everyone shouted hooray. Oh, Genya, Evgeny, Nikolaevich, "Oh my, Peter Ilyich," many such outcries, embraces. They said, "Oh, let us lie down."
Объять, они, ребят, ой, мы устали, дайте полежать.
Некоторые даже...
Some have fallen onto the grass and lied, tired, very tired. The flight was 6 to 7 hours. Then it was much, 6 to 7 hours.
Stalin was glad with the first success. Germans have had a spat on the face for the strike to Moscow. All the world knew that our aviation exists and capable to fly into the backlands of the enemy. Hitler was enraged. He ordered to shoot military attaché of Germany in the USSR for wrong information about Soviet aviation. Seek and destroy airdromes where bombers started. Both capitals, Berlin and Moscow, started martial law. After the Soviet bombing in Berlin, there was a slight light security till the end of the war. Peaceful life was over. Those who lived in Berlin still remember August 1941.
First bombing of Berlin was in 1941. Window glass had fallen. It was the first air alert. Then bombing became more dense. All teachers and parents had an order to send children in bomb shelter in case of the air alert. It was prohibited to be on street. Duty officers worked in bombing. When a firebomb stroked the house, our parents, my dad, run and put out the fire or throw the bomb down. 1941 is a year of bomb shelter. We have descended here almost every night. There we studied and waited to come out. We sat here on the roof, squeezing against the chimney. And here emerged a plane. Landing gear haven't been retracted. It flew almost on the roof level. I saw the face of a pilot, as I see yours now, and he winked to me. I felt strange and huge waves of helplessness. A man with crosses on the uniform winks me. 3 planes fly there, moved upwards, get on positions, and then a nosedive. Explosions. We've been thrown to the chimney with the hot wave.
9th of August, to help the group of Preobrazhensky, came 2 groups from the 40th Division under the command of Major Shelkinov and Captain Tikhonov. From 15 planes, only 12 reached the island. 1 was destroyed by the Germans above the Baltic. 2 others returned to the airdromes due to a breakdown. Airdrome Ost became a base, and as a result, we only have 10 planes, IL-4s for the raid to Berlin. Preobrazhensky gave them a navigator who already knew the pathway. 11th of August, with Baltic pilots, they departed to bomb Berlin. Flights were every other day. The 9th, 11th, 13th of August, our pilots provided sleepless nights for a month. 13th of August, on the island we knew that Colonel Preobrazhensky, Captain Kokolov, Greshnikov, Aramov, Plotkin were awarded the rank of the hero of the USSR for that mission. When Stalin found out that the pilots take only 2 250-kilogram bombs to Berlin, he demanded to increase the bomb load. He is sent to Azov, the famous test pilot Vladimir Kolanaki, with a special mission. He had lifted 2 tons of load to 10 kilometers height on the same DB-3 in 1937.
Kokanaki arrived, taught us how to fly. I wish to call him a name, but I won't. You can have 1-ton bomb and 2 500-kilogram bombs. It will be 2 tons, and you can reach Berlin. I said, all right, show us. He was a test pilot. He is skillful. Started, encircled, and landed here on Kogul and flied no further. And ours, poor fellows, as Greshnikov, flew with 1 ton. That was above normal weight. Airdrome was unpaved. No asphalt as nowadays. He couldn't hop off, almost flew into bushes. But we've got away with it thanks to navigators. Bomb hasn't exploded. We survived. And near there was airdrome. We have had two, one Kogel and the other Asti. On the other side of the island, Isel sounds beautiful. Isel means donkey. The Estonians called it Saaremaa. I don't know what it means. Another one fly from Asti, Bokorov. He has fallen. The crew died.
The order about increasing the bomb load had been withdrawn. Kolanaki came back from the island depressed because he caused the death of the pilots. It was very hard then to oppose Stalin. Stalin headed to maximize effectiveness of the Berlin attacks. Other legendary ace hero of the USSR, number 6, Mikhail Vorobchanov, has got an order to bomb Berlin, starting from the airdromes near Leningrad. Almost no witness of that is alive.
They have had very young planes, DB-7 made in Kazan. They joined the ranks without enough tests, unfinished in many aspects. 8th August, Stalin have read Vorobyanov's report and decided the division is combat ready. He writes his famous note. To Comrade Vorobyanov, in one of the nights, 10 or later, depending on weather, start the flight to Berlin.
When Vorobchanov received his task, he had chosen the airdrome Pushkin near Leningrad. The part of the planes haven't reached it due to technical problems and turned back. Those who on August 10th flew to Berlin were unexpectedly attacked by our own air defense forces.
It have been found out that message about that flight haven't reached battery commanders and regiments of fighter elements. And that's why our planes have been attacked on their way by fighters and air defense. Only 5 planes reached Berlin from the whole division. They have bombed the city, and Vorobyanov was among them. He has bombed Berlin. When he was near Berlin, one of the engines stopped, but they proceeded bombing, finished it.
One navigator might have made a mistake in one of the planes and found itself above Königsberg, where German flak cannons made many holes in the plane. Fuel started to leak, and the crew decided to land in the small forest in the occupied territory in Estonia.
The next thing was to find who's guilty, whose fault it was that operation failed. From 10 planes that started, only 2 returned. 2 were destroyed by our own flak cannons and fighters. 2 have been lost, Stepanov and Panfilov. Till the end of was nobody knew what happened with them. Other planes scattered. 2 other crushed. That was, of course, unpleasant. It was decided that mainly Vorobyanov was responsible, because he was lost. Dead have no shame.
In Vorobchanov's crew, there was an Estonian Edel Prusep. He arranges matters for the local people and led the crew through the front line to our territory. Vorobchanov was removed from the post of commander of the division, and up to 1943 he flew as a common pilot, then became commander of the brigade, and later even general mayor. That was a relatively soft measure for that time. He was saved because Stalin personally trusted him, and because he was one of the first stars of hero.
In spite of such depressing outcome, they have fulfilled their mission. Especially when we speak about pilots personally, their heroism, readiness to accomplish battle mission. They were fully aware that their planes are not ready. They understood that they sacrificed themselves because not only enemy could have attacked them, but also ours could have. And plane could have fallen due to technical problems. During 10 hours flight almost on every DB-7, there was an engine stop. On every, you see, heroism, ready to sacrifice themselves, were on a very high level.
Meanwhile, flights to Berlin from Kogel continued. But the situation became worse. Hitler's order was fulfilled. Fascists knew from which airdromes the plane started that bombed Berlin.
It was horrible life. We were always aware with guns under the pillow. Attacks began 9th, the next day, and continued to 3 times a day. In the morning, in the noon, and in the late evening. Flew with noise from Gulf of Riga. First time there were about 40 planes. Air defense was poor, and they attacked airdrome. They shoot and shoot about 20 minutes. Drop bombs on airdrome and left. Crashes began. People were tired. Some were younger, maybe like me or younger. Alexandrov approached the land. I gave him a light gun as I should. He moves downwards. I see that it's lower than it should be. Give him a signal, red rocket. Make another circle. He still lowers, hasn't any sense. Must have been tired and crushes. Explosion, fire, crew is dead. Kravchenko, good fellow, the same. Approached the airport, mission accomplished. Crushed short of the airdrome.
August 28th, Soviet Army left Tallinn, the main base of the Baltic Fleet. It was impossible to deliver fuel and ammo to the island.
We left hastily. Hurry, hurry. Hurry, everyone. Preobrazhensky was at the wheel. We said to technicians, take care, there is an army. Resist. We'll send planes for you. But that was just words. It was impossible to come here.
We left the island almost in all category of an air technical base. All of them were now under the orders of General Elisev to protect the island. 17th of September, the Germans forced the strait and landed on the eastern shore. There, a machine gun company formed from aviators joined the battle. The brave garrison of Mazun Archipelago defended Sarima till 5th of October 1941. Airdrome Kogel is abandoned. Only local people use it sometimes. The household building lives remaining days on the field and the church that functioned to the end of the war. Those who flew to Berlin and were alive came here for many years.
In this school in 1941 lived pilots who attacked Berlin.
Мы познакомились с ними уже где-то 60-х.
We have met them only in 60th.
60-х годов, и они приехали.
They came here a few times to recall that place.
Ну, вспомнить старые места.
General Lieutenant Koklov, who was Preobrazhensky's navigator, was here.
Тахлов, который был в то время штурмом командира.
Then he became a general colonel. Also Colonel Efremov, Krotenko.
Тогда еще
Pupils collected all the materials.
школьники собирались.
Few albums they've collected.
Несколько альбомов было собрано.
They wrote readily, not only generals, but pilots, navigators.
И не только генералы, но и летчики, и штурманы.
You look for the graves of Soviet pilots?
Yes, I maintain that graves. People come here, bring flowers.
I don't see any flowers.
It's too early. They haven't come yet, only the beginning of April. Each year I plant new flowers.
Don't you consider them as occupants? Many call that period an occupation of Estonia.
No, I don't. There were young men, pilots who died for the homeland. Ordinary people are not guilty in things that happen between countries. Politicians make people fight.
Maybe it's true. Here are buried pilots that died during the bombing of Berlin. They have sacrificed their lives in the beginning of the war. But somehow that heroic story hasn't survived in the memory of the descendants.
Then it was very important, especially in the army, especially for us, who prepared to go up the line soon. I went a few months later. There, all that have been forgotten. There, no one recalled it. Issues changed. Survival of the country was the question. They haven't just bombed the city. They have had, as we had in 1942, particular objectives. They didn't just throw bombs. The main effect of such bombing was the air alert. That meant that workers left their working places, and for hours, all factories in the region stopped. If such attacks are systematic, war industry stops. Either it moves under the ground, as in Germany. Attacks have also had a moral meaning for our country and for our enemy, i.e. the Germans. It was shocking for them. Our historiography avoids the topic of 1941. Mark that memoirs of marshals begin with 1943. Why? Because then success have began. 1941, 1942 were the years of big failure and misfortune. So they try to skip all that. But then there were astonishing events that stood against the background of failures. One of that events, bombing of Berlin by Preobrazhensky Regiment. Pilots who took part in it, 7 of them, have got the hero of the USSR. We read that in newspapers, heard on the radio, and we were glad. We knew that work, let's not be pathetic and say, heroic deed they've done. It deserves professional attention. There is a lot to be proud of, a lot to learn from it. Preobrazhensky's Avia unit for the courage and bravery in fight with invaders. Reorganized to 1st Guard Mine and Torpedo Aviation Regiment of Naval Forces. Brave pilots have thrown 13,000 bombs onto enemy objects. Guard regiments set to fire and shipwrecked 18 ships.
This unique film was filmed in January 1942 on the aerodrome Kamenka near Leningrad. This was the base of a heroic regiment of Baltic pilots that were part of the unique operation of bombing Berlin in August of 1941.
Regiment's commander, hero of the USSR, Colonel Preobrazhensky, and his navigator, hero of the USSR, Kokolov, hero of the USSR, Captain Plotkin, hero of the USSR, Captain Efremov. It was them who were in the first attack of our naviation to Berlin. It was them who radioed, "Moscow, listen, my place is Berlin." It was them who light Berlin out and dispelled a myth about invincibility of fascist capital. Let me say goodbye. Goodbye, my sweetheart. You are a museum piece now. I don't know, not an animal, creature. You are a living creature for me. Machine and not a machine. I can't express it. It's a plane on which so many people fought. Commander of the regiment took the flag. Hero of the USSR, Comrade Preobrazhensky. Guardman, bring an oath. Motherland, until our hands grip the control wheel, until the eyes see the land that cries under the fascist jackboot, and the heart beats and blood is in the veins, we will fight, despising death, for full and final victory over fascism.
Meticulous Western historians counted that in 1941, Anglo-American air forces had thrown 35.5 tons of bombs on Germany. And one special group under the command of Preobrazhensky, in 10 flights in August 1941, delivered 22 tons.